Good morning, everyone. I am Rinki Kumari from BCA AKU Batch 1 third semester, and I am here to give the presentation on the topic finally and nested catch block in Java. So thank you, Raju sir, for giving me this opportunity. Let's start with the presentation. Finally, block in Java. During the execution of a Java program, we write the statement that may cause exception in try block. So when the exception raised, try block ignores the rest of the line. But sometimes it is necessary to execute some important line of code whether an exception raised or not. So finally is the block in Java exception handling that execute that important line of code irrespective of exception. Finally is always related to try and catch block in Java, and whenever the try and catch block is executed, the finally block gets executed, and finally block cleans up all the resources related to try block. Here we have code snippet to declare try, catch and finally block. So first we will go inside the try block, and try block will always contain the statement that may cause the exception. When the exception raised, JVM will throw an exception and it will search for the particular exception handler. So catch block always catch the exception and handles it. But if the exception type should be match. If the match is found, then we will go inside the catch block and it will print the message, and then we will go inside the finally block and it will print the message. But if the case match is not found, then also we will execute the line of code of finally block because it is the mandatory block of code. Now the nested try catch block in Java. So when a try catch block is present inside the another try block, then it is called the nested try catch block in Java. So it is not necessary that every time the try block have the particular catch handler. So whenever the try block does not have the catch handler, then it will search in the parent try block for the exception handler, and when the match is found, it will execute the line of code. But in case if the match is not found, system will generate the exception and program will be abnormally terminated. We will know this concept better by a program. So here we have program and we have the class nested try catch. In Java we write every program in class, then we have the main function which is the mandatory function, and we will go inside the main function. Then we have a parent try block, and then this parent try block have two try and catch block. So when we will go inside the first child try block 1, it will execute the first line of code as it is. But when we will go the second line, here we are dividing a number by 0 and storing it in variable a. So it will generate an exception. So it will ignore this line of code and then it will search for the particular exception handler. And we know that it is arithmetic exception, and we have the in catch we have arithmetic exception, and this is the reference variable of the exception. So we will go inside the catch block and it will print this line of code. Then we will go inside the second child try block, and here it will print this line of code as it is, and the exception is raised in second line. So it will skip this line of code. But this exception is of arithmetic exception, and in catch block we have array index out of bound exception. So we will not go inside this catch block and it will search for the exception handler in parent try block. So here we have the parent try block and it has the arithmetic exception. So we will go inside this catch block and it will execute first this line of code, then second this line of code. And here the exception is handled properly, so we will ignore this catch block. Then we have the finally block, which is the mandatory block, and we have to always execute this finally block. So we will go inside the finally block and this will execute the line of code, and this line is out of catch, try and finally block. Our exception is handled properly, so this will execute this line of code. Now we will see the output. First I have compiled the program, then I will consult it. So here we can see the output. Thank you.
Now, one student is having question, I suppose. You are having question?
In this case, in finally block generate exception, then what happen?
Finally block will generate exception.
This question is if you have written some code in the finally block and if that finally block has some exception, then what will happen?
Then also it will execute the line of.
No, here his question was if a finally block has certain line of Java code and if from finally block if certain exception raised, then what will happen? Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah.
If there is an exception in the finally block, then finally block skips the rest of the part and the program will end abnormally.
So, will this program ends line will be executed? The very last line, program ends.
No, sir.
Because at that point in time, your program will be
Abnormal.
terminated abnormally.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else has any other question related to exception handling?
Yes.
You wanted to ask question. Yeah.
If there is there are two child blocks in the there are two child blocks in the nested try inner try. So if there is exception in the first try block, then it will search for the particular catch. If the program did not find any catch in that particular block, then what will be happen? And if there is no exception in no exception handler in parent block also.
The program will abnormally terminated.
Yeah. Speak up.
Program will abnormally terminated. It will skip all the line.
I hope she is correct. Even though if you don't have the proper catch handler in the outer try block, then there is no way out. Your JVM is having their own call. JVM is going to throw an exception, right? And your program will be terminated abnormally, right? Anybody else has any other question related to this? Thank you, Rinki, for having a. Okay, one more question comes up from the class.
Sir, as a finally block has to, it is mandatory that finally block will execute the line of code inside written inside it. So why it is necessary to write the finally block? We can also write the code outside the try and catch block. Similarly, like this last line, very last line.
So why it is you justify now?
If the particular exception handler is not found, then it will skip all the line of code. But in finally we write the mandatory line of code that will execute whether an exception occurs or not.
I hope this answer will satisfy your queries. Thank you very much, Rinki, for having a wonderful presentation. Okay.